Hi guys, Ron Rohde here from Ron Rohde Law, and today I want to talk about corporate legal protection. Now, this is a topic that I get asked a lot from new clients is how much legal protection do I really need? And it's a complex question that doesn't have an easy answer. You can only start from sole proprietor, which is using your own name. Maybe you filed a DBA, but again, that DBA is connected to your individual name. That's your personal identity and you're conducting business. Any liability from the business would then pass through that DBA and attach to you individually. So your personal property, your investment accounts, any non-exempt bankruptcy accounts would be subject to liability from this doing business as a DBA. I would like to set out a couple of the milestones that I advise my clients. For people who are starting a new business, I totally understand that costs are a concern. Startup capital is hard to come by, and you obviously need to invest that into the business to generate revenue and to develop a product. If you budget too much money for legal and accounting and this nice software, it doesn't matter if you don't have a business. If you don't have any profit, there's not any target. And how do we reconcile the approach from I'm starting up, I have no capital, I just need an idea and to get a few clients, to somebody who's making a few $100,000 a year in revenue? They maybe have independent contractors, they've got lots of clients coming through, and they still have this approach of, well, I don't have the budget for it. I don't have time to protect myself because I just have a few $100,000. And obviously there's some middle ground, and your business will grow. It crosses a tipping point. At some point, you're going to exceed what is reasonable. And this video is going to set out about 3 different categories where I'm going to recommend that you take certain steps to protect yourself, to increase the reputation of your company, which will help drive sales, and finally to protect your individual liability and your hard-earned retained earnings. Once you've gotten equity and you've pulled money out of that company, now is time to protect it. So number 1, you're just starting off. If you just have an idea, if you're trying to build a product, if it doesn't cost any money to deliver this product, I'm absolutely in favor of entrepreneurs. Get your idea off the ground. You don't need to form an LLC. Just work on getting your MVP, your minimum viable product. Build it out, test it, talk to people. You can even make a website. You don't need an LLC at this point, and that's revenue 0. So that's right from the beginning. You don't necessarily need it. On the other hand, if you do want an LLC, we're happy to form that, and that would be my recommended first step is form an LLC and put some of those protections. But back to the beginning, if you're just starting off, you may not need an LLC. That's your sole proprietor. And I would really consider this in the 0 to 50, 0 to 100,000 in revenue range. You can get your first couple of clients and still operate under the DBA. I'm 100%, I'm okay with that. I've maybe not, that's not my legal advice, but as a practical matter for people watching this video, you need to know that you can get started without a $30,000 startup budget. You could get started with just a fraction of that. Now, once you cross that threshold, and let's call it 50 or 100,000, that means you've had several clients, you've performed work for them, you've completed the process, and they're happy with you. And you're thinking to yourself that either this is a side hustle or this is your passion, you do want to do a business. It's actually starting to get some traction and it's starting to take off. What that simultaneously means is you should be putting away some profit, some retained earnings to reinvest back in the company. In the same way that you pause to reinvest in technology, you invest in equipment or inventory, you should be allocating a percentage of your budget to legal. And so when you cross that 100,000, that's where I'd like to step in. Set aside 1% of your revenue. Just 1% will allow you to create an LLC. We have a great package that does client agreements. It does an employment offer, independent contractor agreement. These are your 4 basic, maybe, I'll call it your three basic areas. And that has to do with your individual protection, your clients, and your employees. That's it. Those are the three core. Sometimes I add a fourth for vendor agreements, but typically we're not drafting those. I review those as part of a subscription service. So for a few $100s, I'll review vendor agreements and you'll get that piece of your business checked off. So this is the second stage. Your business is taking off. You're generating consistent revenue above $100,000 a year. And again, I recommend that you just continue to allocate 1%. It's a tiny percent, 1% of revenue to legal. And this is in the form of contracts. We can create custom, unique client agreements that limit your liability, clearly spell out to the customer what you should be doing and what they need to do to ensure that they get the best service, the best outcome, a warranty, for example, and they need to comply with those things before they come to you with a credit card chargeback, they have a dispute, or they're just unhappy with your service. And this is going to carry you through all the way, I would say, up until about $1 million in revenue. When you cross the $1 million in revenue, you really have to start thinking about divisions of your company. You need to have a systematic process to review and sign agreements. And what this means is when you get to about, again, that 7-figure range in revenue, you as the original founder may not have time every day to review and read contracts that the company signs. But you really should be thinking about every contract that you sign. It brings a corresponding liability to the company. You could have somebody in your company signing an agreement that obligates you to a multi-million-dollar obligation. Obviously, this is over time, but that's where the level is. You need to be thinking about having policies that says every agreement needs to be reviewed by a lawyer. It can be, again, an outside counsel. You don't need somebody necessarily on retainer, but that is one efficient way to make it work. But these are the three stages of a company's growth. And I really think that it gives you a vision of where you want to be, as well as how much you're investing into your legal budget. And when you're a startup and you're in that under 100,000, great. You can allocate 0%. I'm okay giving that type of general business advice, non-legal advice. But once you cross that threshold, that's when you should start allocating 1%. And when you get into the high 6 figures, 7 figures can be your threshold. Let's really talk about continuing to allocate just 1%, maybe 2% to review from top to bottom all of your contracts, all of your agreements, and your insurance. That is what's going to ensure a very successful company. And thanks for watching. Feel free to hit the like button and subscribe if you want more practical, fixed cost, business growth, legal tips. I'm Ron Rohde, and we'll see you next time.